Hi, Leighfarnell here, and thanks for listening to Leading Your Best Life. This really is an incredible podcast I'm about to share with you. It's a money-making podcast for anyone that is in the business of sales or who works for themselves. It's called How to Charge What You Are Worth. Oh boy, listen to this one. Well, this podcast has come about as a result of 2, if not 3, really powerful coaching sessions I've done over the last few days even. Both of them are the ones I want to talk about, are the ones that I've done with 2 very experienced consultants, people who are in the business of selling business-to-business services. And the guy today literally said, Lee, as a result of last week's coaching session, I've had what I'm calling an oh shit moment. An oh shit moment. I said, what do you mean? Talk about the penny dropping, the light going on. He's gone, mate, I've realised I have been so undercharging, it's not funny. He says, I've decided to put my fees up. And we talked about how I said to him last week, I said, mate, I want you to be one of the most expensive consultants in town, not one of the cheapest, which, by the way, my old boss who got me involved in consulting way back in 1985, who at the time was proud of himself in saying, I am one of, if not the most expensive change management consultants in Australia. And in fact, as he says in his book, Greg Campbell, he puts it in his book called Total Reset, 700 pages, incredible. By age 38, he sold his consulting practice and knew he never had to work ever again for money. Incredible. That's a whole other piece, which again, he knew how to charge what he was worth, how to actually sell on value. Now, both of these consultants, when we drilled down and I'd exposed them to our POMVIC sales process many, many times, but they hadn't taken it on board. They'd gone, yeah, I got that. When we actually went through it step by step, the POMVIC process, the buyer facilitation journey, to truly understand POMVIC and what that actually means step by step, which we've done, we've deconstructed it. Well, this guy today said, Lee, it means for me at minimum a 20% or more increase in prices, which means at least another $100,000 a year profit, which over a 5-year period, he said, it's not going to be 500,000 because it's going to be exponential. He said, so over a 5-year period, it's going to be more like $1 million extra in his bank account. Think about that. $1 million extra for doing the same work and possibly even less work than he's been doing because he's been selling time for money. Where was I? Just yesterday I was talking to another fellow down the city who actually has a business where they sell to organisations, they sell data-based dashboards and insights for companies. And again, Lee, how do I get away from just hourly rate selling time for money? Well, that is a process we call value-based selling. You must establish the value first before you start talking about what you can do or price. Otherwise, as we say, if you just sell on price, 1, you're going to be working hard. 2, you're not going to be able to differentiate yourself. There's a science to this. So you want to find out more about it, we call it POMVIC, POMVIC. How does that process work? And again, I've spent the last, 20 years or more helping particularly people who sell business to business and often very high ticket items, but business to business and services, how to have a value-based sales conversation. There's a science to it, just like the law of gravity. When you drop a pen and it hits the floor 10 times over, that's science, that's an observation. There's a law at play here. Well, there are a whole range of laws involved in the POMVIC process, not the least of which is you start with P, present situation and problem, let alone pain points and let alone past purchases and planning. There's a process. Follow the process and you'll get the result. As we say, use the right process, get the right result. You're not getting the result you want, you're not using the process that needs to be used. And often you don't know what you don't know. You have blind spots in what you're doing and saying, or even worse, you haven't even thought about your sales, or more to the point, buyer facilitation process. The logical and emotional internal journey the buyer goes on that you either facilitate and control, or at least influence or shape or shepherd, or they follow their own process. And if they follow their own process and you aren't shepherding that process, you can be pretty certain you're not going to be maximising value. You want to find out more, touch base with me, have a 15-minute chat. There's a link that you can get hold of that's in this podcast. I love helping. As you can tell, I'm passionate about helping people maximize the value in a win-win way, ethical, value-based exchange. I'm not talking about ripping people off. I'm not talking about conning people. I'm talking about an ethical, value-based exchange. You want to find out more, touch base with me. Thanks for listening to this podcast, because when it comes to leading your best life, you do need to be able to sell on value and maximize, optimize the value you get back. Thanks for listening. I'm Leighfarnell. Hope you join me again soon.